Ted, we're getting near our 1,000th America's Mayor Live, aren't we? Not quite near there yet. Are we over? It's a 900.
907.
Oh,
We're
wow.
getting there.
Okay, we're getting
there. A few
there.
months, it'll be the summer.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So tonight, let's begin with a suggestion that I made yesterday or the day before. And that suggestion is that there should be a heroes parade up the Canyon of Heroes for our brave. I almost feel that it's inadequate. Let me just say for our brave astronauts, because if I go any further, I won't do it credit. You can't imagine the awe and respect I have for these people, putting their lives at risk. I mean, I know brave people, and I may very well admire that virtue more than anything else. Because along with bravery goes lots of other things like loyalty, and bravery can be physical bravery, security of your life, financial, physical. But these people, my goodness, some of those crashes that took place in space, one during the Reagan administration, I remember to this day. My goodness, that was a quarter of a century ago. About 86, I think. 86. I was a U.S. attorney at the time, and I remember calling Washington and talking to some of my friends there, because I'd been in Washington before that, and now I was running the U.S. Attorney's office in New York. And so to think about how they did this, I mean, they went further away from the Earth than any human beings. Right. Just taking them out?
Yeah.
But I was nervous right down to the end. I'm sure they weren't at all. But having gone through some pretty harrowing things, I can tell you it's easier to go through than to watch. You can't. Maybe this is part of bravery. You got to learn not to think about it. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you to worry. It is going to help you to be rational and think rationally and calmly. But it isn't going to help you to get all worried and start getting panicked. And I remember during 9/11 and some other emergencies having to put people out of the room, and not because I wanted to be mean or difficult. I didn't want it to affect other people. It can become contagious. That's how you get like a stampede in a place where people are leaving. I always say about my firefighters and police officers, you can't imagine how many lives they saved by avoiding a stampede out of the World Trade Center. And you can't imagine how many people stopped me who were in that building to tell me that if I'm at an airport or a train station, or I'm just walking down the street, just out of the blue, right? When I say often, what do I mean by that? More than 3 or 4 times a year, somebody will come up to me and said, "Mayor, I want to thank you." I said, "Well, thank you. That's very nice." And they'll say, "I want to thank you for your firefighters. Because I walked down those stairs. I never would have gotten down if they weren't there. Almost every stair. And I think most of them are gone, aren't they?" I said, "Well, I can't tell. I mean, probably yes." He said, "Well, I wouldn't be here. We would have panicked." That response was so overwhelming. And I read something in the Post yesterday about the commission during one of the testimonies criticized the fire department and police department response. Let me tell you the bottom line, and go read the commission report. The commission concluded by a majority vote with a couple of, there always are second guessers and they could have done it better. The commission concluded with a majority vote, even though it had been very critical, and at one point, maybe until we testified and showed them all the evidence, we're going the other way. Here's what they said, and everybody up in heaven should be very proud of this. They said that the New York City firefighters, police officers, and Port Authority officers couldn't possibly have rescued any more people than they did. They rescued every conceivable person that could be rescued. I know that. It took them 3 years to get there. I knew that. And I defended that with my heart and soul, including in front of the commission. I didn't do it for me. I did it for them. I did it for them because they were such remarkable people. Many of them I knew. Many of them I'd given medals to for other things. It wasn't like, oh, gee, once in their life they got brave enough to do this. They used to do it for a living. And anybody that wants to attack uniformed people, you come and see me, all right? And then spend an hour with me, and I'll tell you what they do. Are they human? Of course. Are there some that do terrible things? Yeah. But a lot less probably than a lot of other people, lawyers, doctors, politicians, reporters, priests, ministers, rabbis. But the people I just mentioned before don't put their lives at risk, like the policemen, the firefighters, and those people you were just looking at quickly. They put their lives right on the line in order to expand human knowledge. Man, that's so important. And maybe it's useless to complain about this, but with all of the going on, isn't there anybody that's going to sit back and say, President Trump, thank you for reviving the NASA program. Thank you for reviving it. Obama killed it because the NASA program doesn't do anything for his objectives, which is to make us a defeated country so we all come under one world, which is based on his Marxist training, his father as a warped colonialist. That's why he removed Churchill's bust from the Oval Office. And then many other things about Obama, who's been treated as a prince. Biden has been treated as a little piece of scum, not unfairly. The unfairness is, gee, where did the corruption start? How come Biden never did anything to, how come Obama never did anything to stop Biden? He knew about it for a year and a half. A lot more than that, probably. But from the day the New York Times wrote an article laying out all the suspicious behavior, from that day on, Obama didn't do anything, did he? Maybe because he had his own little things going on, or big things. That's the kind of stuff that has to come out. It has to come out not for politics. It has to come out for America, so it isn't done again. All right, Heroes Parade. Somehow, President Trump, you organize it, and just tell your friend Mondab, you're the only one who's friendly with him. Somehow it looks like, he's like a puppy for you. So have him come over and pat him on the back of his stupid looking head and tell him we're having a parade. And don't be worried, we'll police it, okay? I know you can't. Now, here's the outrage of all this. They canceled all the outdoor FIFA celebrations. They canceled the celebration of the 250th anniversary of America by having a public ball drop on midnight of July 3. They're going to exclude the public. Now, you want to know why? So everybody's, because they don't have enough police officers to police it. If they don't have enough police officers to police the ball drop, where do they have enough police officers to police the enormous numbers of people who come to New York as tourists? Look, nobody lives there anymore, but people still come there as terrorists. Now, I'm exaggerating saying nobody lives there anymore. More like this. People are running out of there, and it's a contest between New York, New Jersey, and California, and New York is winning right now. The best thing to be in New York is a moving man. You're going to have more business than you ever wanted, and you're going to get to go to nice places. Meanwhile, as the only people are moving out, these tourists right now don't know too much any better. They will very soon. A decision like this will cut to us. This half-wit jackass, and that's not the worst thing about him. The fact that he's a child, immature, doesn't know what he's doing, never had a job, is really bad. The fact that he's an atheistic communist and somehow also a Muslim extremist is the worst thing about him. But even without that, if he were just a vanilla guy, black, white, brown, or whatever, and was as silly, as stupid, as uneducated, as vapid in his head, he'd be a terrible mayor. I don't know what he's doing. And the city needs somebody who knows what they're doing, particularly now it's in difficult circumstances. So his free grocery store. Where did he come up with this idea of a free grocery store? Is that the Soviets?
Yeah, right.
The free, he's going to have like,
we saw how that went.
okay, he's going to have 5 of them and he put aside 60 million for it. The first one has costed him 30. But he's got less than 10 million left for the other ones. And most of the supermarket people there in Garosa say, what? It doesn't cost them 30 million to put a supermarket together.
No, and it's not going to open until 2029.
When does he run for re-election?
That's a key part. 2029.
How did I know that? I know everything about New York. You want to know what this little bastard is doing? You come here. He is just so obvious. So
that is amazing.
This is like a child running New York. It's like a child running, and it's a tragedy because New York needs a grown-up and a tough one and a good one. And I hate to say this as somebody who loves it deeply, New York, that is. It may not recover from the damage he's going to do. He could have another term. And it's over. I mean, this city will be remembered as a great city. I will be remembered as one of its best mayors. You can't even possibly dispute that with the numbers. And on the cover of Time magazine as the biggest example of urban renaissance in America in 1997, 98, after we had been on the cover of Time magazine 2 years before I was mayor, as the rotting of the Big Apple. I mean, I could give you all the, but it doesn't, that gives me no comfort. Instead, it gives me a great deal of sorrow that all the work that I did was destroyed by them. It's just like all the work I did in the Justice Department was destroyed by the Democrat criminals who took it over. Well, here's one of the things that troubles me, Ted, and I want to talk to you about it.
Okay.
So I read today, the U.S. asked Iran to suspend its uranium enrichment program for at least 2 decades during weekend ceasefire negotiations in Pakistan. A source familiar with the talks told the Post on Monday. Now, how could that be true? President Trump, for 30 years, has said, and he's backed it up with word and deed, I will not let Iran become a nuclear power. Right. Ever. Not now, not 10 years from now, not 20 years from now. Right. This is just, whoever did that is Obama. You might have had Obama there doing it.
Yep.
It's Obama light. Obama let him become nuclear in 10 years. So whoever made that offer for us, I don't know who did it. And I don't know if we did. But I have a recommendation. He shouldn't be negotiating anymore. He doesn't understand your principle. And finally, if after all this, we come out with an agreement that allows them to be nuclear in 20 years, the president's credibility would be destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. I don't believe it. I don't believe we did it. I don't believe that anybody there, whether it's J.D. Vance or Jared or Steve, would possibly do that given his firm commitment that they're not going to be nuclear. They are not going to be nuclear. They're not be nuclear. After all, J.D. Vance said it when he left. But if somebody made that offer, just in case, because the negotiations apparently are still going on, that guy should be off the team. That would be a real sellout of America. And in a way, as bad, if not worse, than Obama's deal, because we know a lot more now than we did then. Right. This is real simple. And the president's made it simple. They cannot be nuclear. A regime that is run by religious maniacs, suicidal, insane people. Now, a part of the religion is like that. You read parts of the Quran, and it certainly supports what they want to do. So you can't run away from it. But we've been dealing with that attempt to exterminate us, Christians, the Jewish people, and others. That's what they're doing in Africa right now. Just about every war in Africa are Muslims trying to exterminate Christians and other black people who they don't agree with. It's the biggest slaughter of black people in the world. And where's Black Lives Matter?
Right.
Off in their beautiful homes that they bought with the money that they stole from the ridiculous, stupid American public who gave them money. So the president has said that Iran is ready to try again, but I hope that it is clear. Now the president did say after that, again, nice simple declarative sentence: Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. He didn't say they will not have a nuclear weapon for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. He said they will not have a nuclear weapon. Now, it isn't as important what he said as the reality. The reason they can't have a nuclear weapon is because they are, let me use the vernacular, crazy. The reason they can't have a nuclear weapon because they're insane. The reason they can't have a nuclear weapon is that they are theological murderers. And they embrace a version of the Muslim religion, which you can justify by the Quran, the words of Muhammad, and his use of Allah, the moon god. You can that their mission is to get rid of all those people who do not believe in the moon god Allah. That's why they yell Allah Akbar. Next time you hear, remember that Allah had a long, long history before Muhammad as the pagan moon god of the illiterate Arabian people. And he says if they don't agree, there's no deal. There'll never be a deal. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we're going to get the uranium dust back. We'll get it back. Either we'll get it back from them or we'll take it. I don't think we're at the point now of subtleties. For the survival of this world, that has to be done. And from the point of view of someone who cares about the president, for his legacy and name, it has to be done. So anybody offering 20 years who's purporting to be negotiating on behalf of Donald Trump, you don't have to expose him. Maybe he made a mistake. Just get rid of him because he can make other mistakes. How's the blockade going? Well, the blockade is, what do you say, Ted? It's been 4 ships that we've stopped and turned back.
Yep.
2 that turned back themselves, and 2 that we let through.
Yep. Because
to understand this blockade, what you have to understand is if you're going through and not coming from an Iranian port or going through an Iranian port, even if you're an Iranian ship or a Chinese ship or whatever, and you can prove that, they'll let you through.
Right.
And it's pretty easy to prove. It's just a short waterway to keep watching them.
Yep.
So if they screw you, you can go you can go.
Ships are appearing, yes. Ships are appearing to get through. They're just less and less activity on the Iranian side is what we're hearing.
What does that mean?
I'll have to find.
When you say on the Iranian side, what does that mean? Less and less activity on the
ports
Iranian.
going into the Iranian ports.
Well, there shouldn't be any ones going to the Iranian ports. Not a single one. There shouldn't be a single ship. The blockade, remember, here's what the blockade is and what it isn't. It is not a blockade of all ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, north to south, south to north, either going to the ports or coming away from the ports. It's a blockade of anybody using the Iranian ports. So if a ship comes out of the UAE and it's heading through the Strait of Hormuz, it'll go through. If a ship comes out of Iran, however, on the other side, they'll be stopped and turned back. If a ship is coming up and wants to get into essentially the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz, if they're headed for an Iranian port, tough luck. If they're just going through, they can go through. If they're going on the Arabian side, they can come through. So that's it. That's the way it's going to be. That now, if there's any deviance from that, we should figure it out, because then we're being misled. That's about as clear as you can get. It is a little complicated until you get it, but once you get it, it's real clear. No trade with Iran. What he's doing is he's trying to cut Iran off and pressure them into, I believe, changing the regime. There's no way we win this war if any remnant of the regime of terror is in charge, because any remnant of it will be able to reconstruct it after he's gone. And these people operate on a millennium. They've been doing this for a millennium. They've been doing this since 680. They've been attempting to destroy Christians, Jews, and infidels since then, and they've been spreading their religion to the extent that they do, largely by violence since then. So this is not a group you can temporize with. That's been our mistake. You got to be as tough as they are. That's hard.
Right. So, Mayor, how long do you think this will last? And we'll have a guest here in a few minutes that maybe can speak more to some of this.
It's lasted too long already. It's going to last until we take out the regime. And we might as well do it and get it over with. The price of oil will go right back up once it's over. So you might as well get it over with quickly. Less people will die. The more you stretch it out, the more damage is going to be done. Iran is now also threatening to close Bab al-Mando. What is Bab al-Mando? Bab al-Mando is a port on the other side, on the Red Sea. Now, remember that Yemen had blocked the Red Sea to some extent before, and that the United States, Britain, lots of other countries had to come along and help it get it open.
Right.
And the reality is that they are now threatening to block that port. And they're also threatening to what Saudi Arabia and the UAE has done is they use those ports on the other side. Let me see if I get a good map of this.
What are you looking for? Of the strait? I can get one, Mayor.
Not the strait. No. I want across from the strait. I will find it after we take a break. So
let's take a quick break.
We don't waste a lot of time. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll show you what they're aiming for now, and then we're going to have a guest who can analyze this from the Iranian point of view. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes Now, donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Well, we have with us, and we'll get to the port a little later. We have with us Ted. You want to?
Yep, we have with us Bazad Raufi, who is, of course, a very smart man, PhD, with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory Project Verification and Validation Lead Engineer.
Well, congratulations.
At the Jet
Thank you.
Propulsion Laboratory. And
Well, I don't know what to start with. Whether we should start with the mission or with what's going on in the Middle East, which is so frustrating. Let me ask you this: How do you look at where we are right now with the blockade, the Iranians threatening to do all kinds of things, but they've kind of stayed. They didn't do any attacking today. They threatened to blockade on the Yemen side over there. They haven't done it yet.
In the Red Sea.
On the Red Sea, yeah.
Yes.
I would imagine if they do that, they'll be taken out pretty quickly, because that starts to affect Europe and a lot of other places if they do that.
That is true. Let me first say hello to your audience and you, of course, Mr. Mayor.
Well,
thank you for inviting me to your show. It's a pleasure. Also, I want to make a small correction. I no longer work at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I am at NASA Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. This is where the HLS, which stands for Human Landing System, part of the Moon to Mars umbrella program, which under it comes the Artemis program, which covers the first step of Moon to Mars, which is going to the moon.
Right.
So I am currently working at Marshall Space Flight Center, no longer a JPLer.
And can you tell us what you do generally?
Of course. I'm an aerospace engineer. I have close to 40 years of experience. I worked on some deep space missions way back in late 80s in Washington, D.C. area. After that, I went back to school and got my PhD. And then right after that, I went to JPL. I worked on multiple Mars missions as a navigator, making sure we can land precisely to where the science folks want us to land in order to achieve the objectives that they had, which was at the time, starting with Mars exploration rovers in 2003, look for water on Mars or evidence of past water on Mars, which we're, of course, 20 some years past that. We've since then proved that, yes, there is water on Mars, not only ancient water, but also current water under the ground, but also in the form of ice water at the polar caps at Mars. Similar to Earth, Mars has polar caps, lots of ice. Some of it is CO2 ice, some of it is water ice. Here, what I do at Marshall is I am what is called the Insight Ascent Phase Lead, and I'll explain what that means. As you know, the way Artemis works now is somewhat different from the way Apollo program worked. For Apollo program, NASA and therefore government owned everything, from the launch vehicle to the capsule that went to the moon and got back, to the command module that, along with the ascent vehicle and descent vehicle, landed on the moon and came back up. And all of that was owned by NASA. What we're doing now is NASA decided sometime in late 2000s or thereabouts, please don't quote me on exact date, that this time we would like to involve the private industry. And as you know by now, there's SpaceX. They're building vehicles that are going to take us from the lunar orbit to the surface and back up to the lunar orbit. Also, the other provider, we call them providers. So SpaceX is one of the providers. They're, of course, developing Starship, SpaceX Starship. Just to give you a scale, Apollo lander was somewhere around 16 or so feet tall. SpaceX Starship is 160 feet tall.
Oh, my goodness.
And Blue Origin, owned by the other influencer and American billionaire who's very much interested in space, Mr. Jeff Bezos.
So which is the other one is?
It's called Blue Origin. The
Origin and SpaceX.
Correct.
SpaceX.
SpaceX
and they're both building modules.
They're both building not just modules, the lander.
And they both might have an opportunity, if it all works right, to go up and get there in 28, right?
They actually do. Up until just about 6-7 months ago, the plan was Artemis 1 took the capsule autonomously to around the moon and came back, just to show that we can do it again, of course, with today's technology, 54 years later, after 1972, when Apollo 17 was the last Apollo that landed on the moon. So Artemis 2, which just finished, landed, splashed down last Friday at 7:06 p.m. Central Time.
Very, very exciting. Very exciting.
It was.
All Americans.
I was sitting in the backup control room. I have no role for Artemis 2. However, we were using this opportunity as a learning experience for what we want to do when Artemis 3, 4, 5 go. The next one is going to be Artemis 3. And again, President Trump gave a directive to NASA. The original plan was going to be we land Artemis 3 on the moon in 2028. It seemed like it was getting a little delayed. Artemis 3 was going to be SpaceX, Artemis 4 was going to be SpaceX, and Artemis 5 would be the first one that Blue Origin would be doing that one. And what I mean by doing that is that if you think of it, the big orange rocket that you saw is called SLS, Space Launch System. That launches Orion, which is the capsule that actually is the command module. The astronauts are sitting in there. That launches the the capsule or the command module towards the moon. The upper stage of SLS, which crashed into the ocean 24 hours after we launched, after it essentially slingshot or propelled the capsule towards the moon,
And
it
then
crashed.
it's separated. And then it's separated and
It's separated.
went around.
No, the upper stage, which is called ICPS, it has its own acronym. It crashed into the ocean, not reusable. It's gone. The capsule that, of course, houses the astronauts went to the moon, went around the moon, as we all saw on the news for 10 days. They were en route and back. Launch was on Wednesday, April 1st. On Thursday, April 2nd is when the two separated, and the burn that actually kicks off the translunar trajectory happened. So the upper stage after that came back to Earth and crashed. The upper stage went to the moon, went around the moon, and came back. So that's Artemis 2. The plan originally was with Artemis 3, 4, 5, we were going to land on the moon. And the way that was envisioned to happen is that SpaceX would have their Starship, the 160-foot tall vehicle. Already, it was supposed to launch like about 3 months or so ahead of the astronauts going up. It would go to the moon, it would orbit the moon and wait. When they checked everything out and said everything is green, everything is good, then SLS, the orange rocket, and the astronauts would go up. They would go to the moon. The two would rendezvous. 2 out of the 4 astronauts would go out of Orion, the command module. They would go into Starship, which is now called, which will be the lander. And Starship will take these 2, take them to the surface of the moon. Depending on which Artemis we're talking about, somewhere between 3 days to 6, 7 days, they would stay on the moon, on the surface. Then they would come back up, rendezvous again. The astronauts would go back to Orion. Spaceship would stay there because it's reusable. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be reused somewhere around 8 to 10 times, which helps reduce the cost significantly. And Orion,
it's going to stay on the moon?
they would stay in lunar orbit.
Oh, in a lunar orbit, and then you're able to use it for future missions.
For a future
in order
mission
to have you take you to the
to
moon.
the surface again. So think of it
Like
as
a landing
shuttle.
craft. It's like a landing craft.
That's exactly what it's called. It's the lander. And it
Wow.
shuttles astronauts between the lunar orbit. We call that orbit a staging orbit. The lander would just continue to orbit around the moon after its first mission. And then Orion will continue sometime later, depending on what the cadence is going to be. We'll come back to Earth, astronauts come, and then the next mission, more astronauts go up.
So
Repeat the same thing.
when will be the first? When are you thinking of the first mission in order to get that lander up there, land, and then leave it there?
Okay, so let me tell you how things have changed in the last 6 months. Up until around last October, November, that was the plan. Artemis 3 lands. At that time, President Trump gave another directive that said we should land on the moon by 2028, mid-2028. So that sort of changed things. We went back to the providers, both to Blue Origin and to SpaceX, and said, what would you need to do to have your vehicles ready? Because Blue Origin was not supposed to be ready until 2030. We said, what would you have to do in order to be ready by 2028? Of course, you have to, instead of, if you can draw an analogy, saying instead of having the Cadillac of a lander, reduce the objectives, simplify the objectives so that we can be ready sooner. So now the new plan is, or was, up until 2 months ago, the new plan was that both providers will bid again for who can be ready in 2028, by mid-2028, with a different, simpler mission. And then shortly after that, the NASA administrator, Mr. Jared Isaacman, after, I suppose, lots of meetings with heads of NASA, decided that the cadence of launches are a little slow. Artemis 1 launched in April 2022 and Artemis 3 in April 2024. That's 4 years. They said, we'd like to be able to do things a little more frequently. However, we know we're not going to be ready with all this multiple vehicles, and I will explain one of the challenges there, which these are all common knowledge, by the way. There's no secrets that I'm talking about now. The challenge there is two things. One, when you are in space, your propellant is liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Liquid hydrogen has a high tendency to evaporate. If you don't release the liquid hydrogen that is evaporating or becoming gas instead of liquid, you have a bomb. It'll blow up. You can't make that tank so strong to not blow up. So one of the challenges is if you stay in space long, slowly you're going to lose that fuel. So in order to solve that, they decided, well, and in order to make, by the way, the landers that we just talked about be reusable, you have to keep refueling them. Just think of a in-air refueling of our military stuff. Now we're going to refuel our spacecraft. So both Blue Origin and SpaceX have their plans to send their tankers all the way to the lunar orbit. Remember, the lander is staying in orbit.
That's quite a thing. They got some of the tankers up there to refuel them. Wow.
Right. So the tankers are going to go to this orbit at the moon for the next mission, shortly before astronauts go back up again, fuel the lander that is almost empty by the time it lands and comes back up. It uses a lot of fuel. It's almost empty. And of course, it's been sitting there for all this time. So it's losing more hydrogen just because of time. We have to release that hydrogen, by the way. We can't just keep it. Anyways, so the whole concept is called concept of operation. The concept of operation is that for future missions, for the reusability to have meaning, you have to be able to refuel the lander. That's the challenge that is has to be solved by the time we get to Artemis 4 and 5. Artemis 3, in order to have a higher cadence and do things similar to Apollo. Apollo 9 did all this multi-vehicles going into space and undocking, docking, transferring astronauts from one to the other. All of those were done by Apollo 9. I believe sometime in 1971. And again, please don't quote me on that. I don't remember exactly when, but it was Apollo 9 that exercised everything we have to do in the lunar orbit. It did it in orbit around the Earth as the next step of development. Once we were sure that, yes, we've developed the right technology to successfully achieve that, then they said, okay, now we're going to go to the moon and do the same thing and actually land. So that's the plan for Artemis. Artemis 3, by then, which, by the way, is currently slated for 2027, sometime midsummer or maybe a little later.
So is that the next mission?
That is the next mission. That's what the NASA administrator, Mr. Jared Isaacman, wanted to say. We want to have a higher cadence, and we want to develop the technology in steps.
Right.
So the next step is going to be go around the moon, do the rendezvous, and come back down. Once we achieve that, we'll go do the same thing around the moon.
Well, it's very, we this is what we used to do in the 60s and 70s, and we stopped for 50 years. Crazy. Who knows where
the reason was
where we'd
twofold.
be if we kept doing it. And thank God the president revived it.
The reason was twofold. Budget. Part of it is NASA's budget. It helps NASA's budget when the general public supports NASA activities. So as long as we do things that are interesting and exciting for humanity as a whole by exploration, we're developing things like there are
Right.
drug companies that are now building their own spacecraft to go to Earth orbit where there is near zero gravity and make drugs that are either impossible to make on Earth because of gravity or very expensive to make them on Earth. So point being, NASA technology has benefited humankind immensely. One example is every time you go to a grocery store and buy packaged food, well, that was initially developed for the astronauts because they couldn't,
Right.
go to the grocery store in orbit and buy their own food. So, anyways, that whole industry started because of the Apollo program.
That's fat, and so many others. Now,
Of course,
before we get off, I have to ask you a little bit about Iran.
Yes.
What do you think is going on, and how do you see it ending?
As the president-elect, whom I know you've met, of NCRI, National Council of Resistance of Iran, Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, said in early 2000s, the Iranian situation, if we appease and allow Iran to access things that they have been for the past 20 some years, there will be a time when you would have no choice but to get into a war, which is exactly what we're seeing now. Iran managed over the past 20 some years, develop their nuclear program, their ballistic missile program, all of those that have made them a menace to not just the region, but also to the whole world. Now we can see by controlling, for instance, Strait of Hormuz, they're affecting the whole world, not just the countries around Iran. So I want to go back to what she said. The solution, as she called it, is the third option. The regime has shown for almost 40 years now, they cannot be moderated. There is no such a thing as a moderate faction within the regime.
Right.
It's all factions of the same
Right.
hardliner or fundamentalist way of thinking, as you were discussing earlier in the earlier part of your show. And of course, war is not the ultimate solution. Yes, absolutely, it weakened the regime, but you cannot change that regime by bombing. You, I'm sure, are very aware for Iraq, what it took was almost 200,000 US troops, boots on the ground in Iraq in order to get rid of Saddam Hussein. Iran is going to be even more difficult. It's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the population is several times more than Iraq, and so is the vast geography of it. So it would be even more difficult to try to do that. We believe it is the responsibility of the Iranian people, and the MEK has developed the resistance units, and I know you're familiar with all those. I'm explaining these for your audience. The resistance units, which, by the way, 5 days before the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran, the 250 members of the MEK and the resistance units attacked the most heavily guarded part of Tehran, the Motahari compound, where Ali Khamenei himself was there, Mujtaba Khamenei and his entire family are there, and the head of the security forces, the organization, not just the person, is all in there. So there is no point in Iran that is more heavily guarded than that. And 250 of the MEK members and the resistance units attacked it. The regime tried very hard to hide that and not talk about it, because that would have been admission of weakness
Right.
against the resistance forces. The solution to Iran is what we ask the world is to stop appeasing, which I'm very glad to see that has happened. Put IRGC on the international terrorist list, which I'm very glad to see that has also happened, and not allow the regime to get things that they need in order to continue to stay in power, like getting technology, the kind of stuff that they need to get from the international community, from technology companies all around the world. And I'm very glad to see that European Union has now put the IRGC on the terrorist list, and US and Canada, and I believe a couple of other countries as well. Again, going back to the solution is the people of Iran uprising, led by their organized resistance, the MEK, that has over 60 years of fighting against this, both the previous dictatorship under the Pahlavi, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, and of course the current brutal regime. And they have now established the National Liberation Army in Iran, formed or made up of these resistance units that are now coordinating attacks. That couldn't have been easy for 250 fighters to be coordinated under such heavily guarded conditions in Tehran. That is a humongous defeat.
How do you see it coming out, Doctor? How's it?
I believe military conflict, continuation of the military conflict, is not going to end the Iranian regime. Number one, I don't believe this situation will end. And what I mean by this situation is not just the closure of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean the entire region being in chaos, Iran being under the brutal boots of this mullah's regime, the countries around Iran being in fear of they're going to get attacked any day, which this war proved that this is something that the regime had in mind. This didn't happen. The attacks on the neighboring countries didn't happen because one day after Israel, they must have had plans drawn long time ago with targets set and all that. It will. The situation will end by the regime being overthrown.
So, what is the realistic possibility that can be done internally, and how much help would they need?
As the leader of the resistance, Mr. Masoud Rajavi, said, I believe about a month or so ago, that number one, the overthrow is by the Iranian people led by the resistance, the MEK. And number two, if we get access to the weapons that we used to have when the MEK was on the border of Iran-Iraq, that would certainly help. What we have said, as Mrs. Mariam Rajavi also pointed out, I believe it was 6 months ago or a year ago, when she addressed some members of Congress, we do not ask for money. We do not ask for foreign boots on the ground. We don't want any American blood spilled to free Iran. That is our job, and we will do that. What we want is for the world to recognize this resistance, the National Council of Resistance as the political body and the democratic body that has represented the Iranian people and represented the resistance.
And what's the feeling? What's the feeling for you and your colleagues among the Iranian people?
We believe we are closer than ever to being able to get rid of this regime. Of course, this regime has been most brutal. I'm sure you have seen evidence of that. What happened at the end of December and early January is just the tip of the iceberg. The regime did something similar in 1988. The only thing was at that time we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have the internet, so the world didn't hear what happened. They executed
about 20,000 people,
more than 30,000 people within about 4 or 5 months. And that should give you scale compared to what happened 2 months ago, that there are estimates of 4,000 to 5,000. That should give you some scale for what they did in 1988. Um, we believe we're close to overthrowing this. We believe it is only possible through the popular uprising. The job of the resistance units and the National Council of, the National Liberation Army is to coordinate and organize popular uprising. Once we get, just like what happened at the end of December, people will rise. While the war is going on, people are not going to come out. So number one, and this is again something the leader of the resistance, Mr. Massoud Ajavi, pointed out just about 3 weeks ago, while the bombing continues, people are not going to come out. We cannot expect that. Once the war subsides, and the regime is very afraid of that, by the way, one clear indication of that is that while this regime is being bombed, Iran is being bombed by Israel and US forces, what is the regime doing? Executing MEK members. They fear MEK members and the National Liberation Army more than two of the most powerful militaries in the world.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because it's more inserted into the country, and they've dealt with it before. Well,
and they understand it is the National Liberation Army organizing and guiding and protecting the people that is eventually going to bring this regime down. They know that.
What would be your advice to President Trump about how to handle himself on this? What should he do?
I believe I'm not an international advisor. I cannot give advice. I can say my hope would be for this war to end soon. That will open the conditions for the people of Iran to rise again. It might take some time before the situation becomes explosive again. It is explosive. It's just a question of what's going to trigger it. What would be the spark to bring the next uprising? And the National Liberation Army is there ready to protect. If I mind you, what happened in the last 8 or 9, in the first 8 or 9 days of this last uprising on December 28th, number of casualties was low. It is because the resistance units were actually organizing and guiding people. I give you one example. For instance, if people go to a big square, big
it's a good chance to get a lot of people. Yeah,
and they start their demonstrations. If the resistance units realize the regime is sending their forces to slaughter, they would literally block the streets where they're coming, just put a couple of cars in there and keep them from getting there fast so people will have time to disperse. This is how, and by making themselves a shield in front of people who have no weapons, people who are not fighters, they haven't been trained to fight. So by making themselves the shield and guiding and quickly reacting to regimes sending brutal forces, they were able to save a lot of lives.
Well,
it is when, unfortunately, some other people, namely those who, the person who's calling himself the monarch, started calling on people to come out, the unsuspecting people who had no idea what the situation on the street is. That's when the regime started mass murders, because those people were not prepared. We were. Resistance units were, but those people were not.
That's quite an explanation, Doctor. I mean, you really are terrific. We're going to keep in touch with you as this moves along, because I think this got to come to a head within a week or two.
I hope so.
You can't stay in this position forever, you know?
Absolutely not. No. Well, and I thank you again for.
Well, I thank you. It was a great explanation. We're very, very honored that you gave it to us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Good night.
Thank you. So that is a fascinating explanation. He obviously knows the whole thing of it, backwards and forwards and frontwards and backwards, and we've explained it to you, but not with the precision that he did. This is a multitask force here that's going to try to get it done in 2028, at least one of those, so that President Trump can see it. And he has a right to because he revived it. It was gone. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
And we're back.
Welcome back to America's Mail Live. Well, that was a very interesting discussion on both subjects. Of obviously, a very knowledgeable man. You can see from that, and I hope from the other people that we've had on during the course of the last several weeks, more than that, I guess the last 2 months, while this war was going on, you can get an idea of how tremendously talented the Iranian people are, and what a great contribution they've made already, and what a contribution they can make as we as we move along. So where were we? We were talking about, first of all, the parade. I want to put in one more pitch for the parade for the Canyon of Heroes. I mean, everybody else got it. I can't see why they can't. And the excuse that the mayor is using for not having the ball drop and doing away with the FIFA, the World Cup celebrations in New York, is the police department has alerted him to that. Well, police department's alerted him because they don't have enough police officers to secure gatherings like that. Now, it doesn't take much of a genius to figure out that if they can't secure gatherings like that, how do they protect New York with the enormous numbers of people that come there every summer? And are those people going to come? I mean, if you lose, if this silly little child communist and Islamic extremist loses tourism, he's got nothing left because he's losing people left and right. It's a contest. It's a contest between New York, New Jersey, California, who's losing the most people. And New York is winning that contest because nobody's quite Mondani. I mean, no, every day it's a foolish, idiotic, moronic, anti-American, anti-common sense, like the grocery store that he's now building is going to cost way over budget, 30 or 36 billion. He had a million. He had 60 for it, for all of them. What? For 6 of them, 5 of them.
70 for 5, was it, or 60?
I think it was 60 for 5.
Okay. Half of it now done.
Yeah, I mean, and he's going into a place that's already constructed. I mean, I know exactly where he's going in Harlem. It's already constructed, already operating. Somebody else is going to come in. And look, it's very, very possible that that's cushion money. You know what cushion money is? Cushion money is the money they kick around, otherwise known as bribes. No way it should cost that. When you see a government like New York, which has been corrupt for 170 years, when you see it spending outrageously more money than you know it has to spend, it's just not, they don't do that for fun. Now, whether this little jackass knows that or not, I don't know. I know he's a communist. I know he's a supporter of Islamic terrorism and violence. And he hates Jewish people with a sickness that should have him in some kind of a rehabilitation program rather than being mayor of New York. And he hates America, without any doubt. He's rooting for the other side completely. But I don't know how smart he is, and that's out there as a question. I mean, I think he's also and whether he's smart or not, he's an immature, inexperienced little arrogant fool. Well, we've got some people saying we're losing a war, like the Wall Street Journal and one of their columnists says we're losing a war. I don't know how. First of all, can we wait until it's over? I don't see how we're losing the war when they're on their knees. And I think what they do is they do play a game of being much more agreeable internally and then externally trying to put on this pitch. And I'd recommend to the president, get them to cut their shit. Meaning, repeat what they're telling you. And if they lie, don't meet with them. Say, I'm sorry, you can't pull this bullshit that you're doing this and you're doing that, and you're doing this and you're doing that. That we offered you, you can be nuclear in 20 years. I'm sure that comes from them. If it doesn't, we got problems. But he knows this better than I do. Sometimes not negotiating is the best way to negotiate, and don't appear to be the one that's more anxious to negotiate externally. It's quite clear that internally they're more anxious to negotiate. But it's also quite clear that externally we appear to be like we're begging to negotiate. And that doesn't make it look like we're winning. Or it makes it possible for the enemies of the United States, which includes a lot of the columnists, even on the Wall Street Journal, to just jump to the conclusion that we're losing. And I don't know how you can come to that determination right now with the casualties on both sides, with the economic loss on both sides, with the ability to wage war on both sides. I mean, I'm very, very anxious to see if they attack us at all with our blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Very hard for me to believe they can, because we spent 10 days uniformly wiping out the coastline. As I pointed out to you last night, I used to show you every night the number of hits that we did. They were disproportionately along that coast. So if there's anything left there, it's purely a mistake. And frankly, when it shows itself up, it's going to be taken out right away. The minute it tries to shoot at a vessel, we'll locate it, we'll find it, and the gun turret will get blown out of the mountain. So I'm comfortable about that. Their other threat is to take out the port on the other side of the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, which is was used by Yemen during the Israeli Gaza war. It was used by Yemen to try to block up passage through the Red Sea, which also can have a big impact on the world economy. And now they threaten to kind of move over there and block that whole thing up. I think the answer to that is, yeah, you'll do it for a day, and then it'll all be up in smoke, and you'll be up in smoke, and now they have surely run out. They surely now have run out of virgin, so you're going to be screwed. I mean, maybe I think it's time to stop talking, because I think it confuses what we're trying to do. Particularly with this thing about, well, you can be nuclear in 20 years. That has to be blown out of the water completely. Because if they believe that, they'll keep this thing going forever. And also, it's in their interest to keep negotiating. The longer they negotiate, the more they can regroup. The longer they should negotiate, the longer they're hanging on. And to me, there's only one safe solution to this that allows the world to move on more positively. Their regime has to be entirely and absolutely destroyed. We should not leave back some kind of a, light version of the regime of terror. They should be gone, all of them. And the country should be allowed to select its government, and they should be excluded from it, the way animals like that were in Germany and Italy and Japan. Well, the Pope and Donald J. Trump, who's right, who's wrong?
Right.
What do you say, Ted? What's your view on it?
My
view
on it is,
can we put 10 on?
I don't have the yeah, we can. I want to.
We can take a little break.
No. It's okay. I have.
You look good.
I've been typing.
I know you look good.
Okay. Oh, not that one. So.
Thank you for my Rudy coffee.
Yep.
By the way, I'm gonna take a minute while you get all fixed up.
Okay.
You gotta try Rudy coffee. I'm telling you. I know the price of coffee has gone up. I haven't looked at how much it's affected us. It probably has affected us because we use the best beans. We use Arabica beans. So essentially, the coffee that you're used to, there are two beans that are used: Arabica and Robusto. Robusto if you go into a typical diner, even to some extent high-end restaurants, because they're not particularly good on coffee, they're going to get Robusto coffee. Robusto coffee has certain value. If it's 2 o'clock at night and you have to drive from Palm Beach to Jacksonville, Well, actually, take
That's that's a long drive, Mayor.
Take Rudy's Bold coffee.
Yeah, in that case,
It'll hit you really good with the
Yeah.
caffeine, and your stomach will stay better. You take the Robusto, it'll be fine. It'll hit you with the caffeine, but an hour later, you're gonna have to stop and do something about your stomach. Arabica is the superior bean. It's also the one that there were shortages of, and crops failed in Colombia, elsewhere. The reason for the increase in the price of coffee has nothing to do with what's going on in the Middle East. And it has nothing to do with inflation up or down. Inflation, aside from what's going on, is down. The price of food went down last month. The price of gasoline went way up. Well, it is going to go way up until we get control of this. But it's going to go way down. You have to have some patience here. There is a price you pay for making the world free, and for creating a free world for your children and your grandchildren. And you're not being asked to pay the ultimate price. You're being asked to pay a little out of your pocket. And it's worth it. The horrors of this regime have been grossly underestimated by the American and European press, where they've done an unbelievable job of infiltrating them and turning people against the Jewish people. And reactivated anti-Semitism, not, I'm going to say, at Nazi levels, but we're headed there. And it's very, very dangerous. And it's really sick on Holocaust Remembrance Day to think that we didn't learn our lesson. And our lesson is, listen, take them seriously. When people are constantly saying they're going to kill you, I don't know. I don't not pay attention to them. Well, they've been saying death to America forever. And we got half the Americans against being at war with them. Well, but they don't even remember that. They're in some kind of fog. Maybe there's too much marijuana around. I don't know. When I see these people that are not supporting this, I say to myself, it's got to be too much marijuana. Because this regime from day one should have been taken out. That's my view. So the Pope, I think his first sermon going after Trump was on Palm Sunday.
right.
And on Palm Sunday, he basically said that he can't think of there's no justification for war. And then he more or less reiterated that on Easter Sunday. And it was quite clear he was talking about Trump. Now, he is the head of the largest Christian denomination in the world. And to many people, even outside the Catholic Church, he's the religious leader. To many people outside the Catholic Church, he's very hated, just a function of the Protestant Reformation. It depends on which group you're talking to. But his influence in the religious community is greater than just the Catholics, who are the largest group of Christians,
Right.
by far. He has great respect within the Orthodox Church. He and the Orthodox Patriarch just did a religious service together. It looked to me like they're like brothers, and they both are equally convinced and that they are now a joint communion, and that they, in their generation and their time, have to solve and put back together the church that split 1,000 years ago, which is this close, like that, on one issue, which is the authority of the Pope. And both the Greek Orthodox and the Catholics are much more reasonable about that than people think. The Pope is not insisting on being the dictator of the church. The only word, the patriarch is willing to, the Greek patriarch is willing to see the Pope as what we call primus inter pares, I think. Primus inter pares means first among equals, which is pretty much, I think, the view that both of them have of the way the apostles were organized, where Peter wasn't the dictator. Peter was the arbiter. Peter was the one who final decision had to be made. I'll give you one. Paul, and I've forgotten if it was Bartholomew or whatever, come back from a trip in maybe to Rome or they were in Rome, but maybe to part of the Roman Empire, or maybe to Africa, where they spent a lot, or Asia, where they spent a lot of time. And the question was, one, shall we accept Gentiles? Or are we just an extension of the Jewish religion, except with the Messiah? And number two, if we do accept Gentiles, should they be circumcised like the Jews were? And eventually, they had a lot of debates over it, a lot of discussion, and they accepted Peter's decision, which was that it would be better to vary the practices a little bit so that these people would come in. We all had to believe the same thing. We had to believe in the divinity of Christ. We had to believe in the sacramental presence of Christ in the Eucharist, the virgin birth, the basic things that all Roman Catholics and Greek Catholics believe in, because at this time there was one church. So Peter was the referee and decided it. He didn't say, they're pretty close to putting those two churches together. So this Pope is going to be as a young man. He's a good man and he's a smart man, but he's a man. Pope's not God. The Pope's infallibility, which also makes this a lot easier, is much more narrowly defined than you think, and much less utilized than you might imagine. Even popes that you didn't like, popes that you did like, very rarely use the special office that they have, which allows them to bind their congregation on very, very important matters, which we say of faith and morals. So it would never ever affect anything political. It would never ever affect anything social, and it would never even affect most things religious, except the most important. So when the Pope on Palm Sunday and on Easter Sunday basically said that war is unjustified, I do not have to believe that as a Catholic. If he reiterated the virgin birth, I do, because that is a teaching that was done ex cathedra, from the chair, from the throne. It was official, and it was a matter of faith and morals. There are very few of those. Not only do you not have to believe it, there's a whole tradition within the church that puts the Pope in the minority to two of the greatest theologians ever, two of the greatest philosophers in Western civilization, two who are still at the bedrock of the Protestant churches, because their teachings occurred before the separation. And in the case of the first one, he's at the bedrock of basically all of the churches. St. Augustine of Hippo. His confessions are read and used by every conceivable Christian denomination. And he was the scholar, the theologian, the philosopher who developed the concept of a just war and the need for a just war in order to protect innocent people. Expounded by the greatest theologian in the history of the church, Thomas Aquinas. It's never been changed. It's never been contradicted. You don't have to agree with it, because they weren't popes. They're just great thinkers. We're allowed to use their thinking, use their reasoning, agree with it, disagree with it. but it's the predominant position of the church. And Francis, the predecessor of the present Pope, is the first one to have said that. I think it was dismissed when Francis said it, because Francis was dismissed somewhat as a sort of South American product of the pro-soft communism school that affected a lot of the Catholic hierarchy in South America. Same thing that created the Chavezes and the Che Guevaras and all the crazy stuff that they believed that have ruined their economies, right, and destroyed their societies. That presently going on, but the church, or some portions of the church, stupidly went along with it. The same way they stupidly now hide rapists and murderers and everyone else, because they haven't grown up to the notion that the group of immigrants that are coming in now are not the immigrants either of the old German, Italian, Irish, Jewish variety, or even of the Mexican, Puerto Rican, well, Puerto Ricans weren't immigrants because they're American citizens, Dominican, whatever, that go back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. When Biden opened the door, they opened the door to the prisons in all these countries. So the Catholic Church is taking an enormous amount of money, as are a lot of other not-for-profits, to protect people that murder you, that rape you, and they do everything they can to obstruct the apprehension of these people. And it's very, very short-sighted. And that is actually at the core of the disagreements between the Pope and the president. The president considers Francis and Leo as people who have cooperated in the horrible situation we have in Europe and in America of all of these criminals taking over our society and trying to destroy our culture. Now, here's the strangest part. When they turn out to be Muslims that they are protecting and bringing in, they're also empowering a group of people that are committed to bringing down Christendom. So, which I find really, really strange. And I think that's what led the president to his frustration and the statements that he made. As for the by the way, I don't know. Can you show that picture? He says he saw it. He didn't like it, but he thought it was depicting him as a doctor, and he told him to take it down. So he doesn't like it. He thinks that he thought it was kind of silly, and he doesn't want to apologize to the Pope because it wasn't intended for the Pope, and it wasn't intended to mock Jesus in any way. The president is a non-denominational Christian who believes in Jesus Christ as God. So couldn't that be a medieval doctor? I don't know. Doesn't look like Jesus to me. First of all, Jesus always had black hair, not blonde hair. I never remember Jesus wearing something like that.
Right.
That looks like a way too expensive a garment for Jesus. It looks more like the garment of a rich doctor. And doesn't the guy look like Paul Newman? Who did this, by the way? Do we know? Who created this issue?
Our friend Nick Adams posted the original.
Oh, well, why is he being blamed for it?
He's not being blamed for it, but why isn't he? Yeah.
But why? How does this have to do with the president then? If Nick Adams,
because it's a chance to get at Trump.
but he didn't do this on purpose, and
the president found it. It's a picture.
But he said it. He.
It's not necessarily Jesus, and either way, it's a.
I don't know why the Pope just can't take him at his word that he didn't mean it to be Jesus. And finally, the Pope can't tell the president what to do. Well, what? I mean, that's ridiculous. First of all, he's not a Catholic, so he's not bound by you. And you can only tell him what to do if you want to get on that cathedra and do a thing of faith and morals. And I'm telling you, if you say that we can't engage in war and that the just war theory of Augustine and Thomas Aquinas are gone, what are we going to do? We might as well just surrender like the French do to the Muslims and let them take over the world. We'll all become dhimmis. We'll kiss the Muslims' feet, and we'll do exactly what Muhammad and the pagan god Allah wanted. Why don't you tell the people the truth about the Muslim religion instead of be euphemistic about it? Why don't you defend our faith? 36 Christians were killed over Palm Sunday and Easter in Nigeria. You know about Nigeria. You're one of the few that's spoken out about it. The only person who's been bolder about it is President Trump, to whom you should say thank you, because he's the only one defending your faith. Now, the only way we can carry on this faith is if we exist. And most of us don't want to sacrifice our children, God forbid, to these Muslim crazies. We sacrificed enough on September 11. As an American, I would think you would feel that more than others. But I don't know. I don't know you, Pope. You're an American like I am. You're a Catholic like I am, and you're a man like I am, and you are also my spiritual father. And I accept you as my spiritual father. But you're not my political boss. I mean, if the popes had been our political bosses, my God, you think of some of them, they would really be in trouble, wouldn't we? How about when there were 2 or 3 of them? Let's get real now. You know, you are extraordinarily important. You're a great man. But I don't know how you can make a general statement like that all wars are unjust. People come in to your village like they did in Israel, and they rape and murder. And they kill children in front of their parents, and they kill parents in front of their children. What were they going to say? Okay, let's all pray together? I don't think so. I don't think so. God, somehow God didn't make us that way. I'm going to defend my family. I'm going to defend my people.
Right.
Pardon me, Ted?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's we're getting deeply into soccer time. So let's get through the key issues here. Did the U.S. offer 20-year resumption of nuclear? I doubt it. It is totally contradictory to everything the president said. What I'd really like to know, and he can keep it to himself, is did somebody actually offer it? Because that person, you should kind of take him out of the negotiations. Otherwise, he's just going to string things along. I mean, all you do is jerk him off to no avail. Or it could be a complete lie. That's also possible. The Iran threat to take out the port near Yemen on the other side, block up the Red Sea. Yeah, Yemen's going to do that. And then there won't be any more Yemen. You know how fast it would take for you and the Israelis to wipe out that portion of Yemen that's controlled by the Houthis? 100 bombs, and they're gone. And it would be a good idea if they were gone, because they are pathological, irredeemable murderers and followers of the strict literal word of Muhammad to kill all of us. And if they survive and they continue, same thing. And same thing with the regime. If this little piece of that regime survives, they're going to grow back again. The cancer will grow back again. The one thing you haven't said, and I hope it's there, Mr. President, this regime has to be cut out. We can't have this regime around when you're gone, because I'm not sure all Republicans have the gumption to get rid of them. I mean, we went through lots of presidents, some of them Republicans, who wouldn't stand up to this regime. This is our one chance. I'm not overstating it. It's a one chance to save the Christian religion, to save the Jewish people, to save Western civilization from a group that's been dedicated to destroying it for 1,600 years. This isn't an accident. what is going on is not an accident. 9/11 was not an accident. The attack on October 7th was not an accident. This is part of a plan. Not all Muslims agree with the plan, but enough do so that they're a danger to me, you, our children, the people we love, even the people we don't love. The future space plans, I think we covered really nicely with our guest. He did a great job. He was a twofer, right, Ted? He was a twofer, right? Please don't ignore Nigeria. I think you're sending them some money. We'll get you some groups there that really help. They've been slaughtering the Christians there forever and ever, and only Donald Trump was willing to stand up for it. The Pope has made some statements in the past about it, but since Donald Trump has been talking about it, he's been going away from it. I hope he doesn't have a mild case of Trump derangement syndrome. You know, right? Because whether he agrees or disagrees with Donald Trump on everything else, he's just by far, without any doubt, he should be praising him for his position on Nigeria, because he's got his the people he's responsible for getting slaughtered there for no reason. Oh, by the way, all over Africa, the Muslims are slaughtering Black, Christians, Catholic, and Protestant in almost about equal numbers. Watch the case of Sergeant Eric Duran in New York. This guy was involved in a buy and bust situation. Gosh, when I was an assistant U.S. attorney, I did 1,000 of them. A buy and bust situation. What that means is this guy sold drugs to their undercover. They went to arrest him. The guy ran away. Sergeant Duran took one of those ice buckets or containers, right? Yeah. And he threw it at him to stop him. Purely a matter of bad luck, he fell down, he hit his head against something, and he died. He was throwing it at him actually to stop him and to use a less significant form of force than taking his gun out and blowing his brains out. He just got sentenced to something like 4 to 15 years in jail by a maniac, corrupt New York judge. If you are on the state court in Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens, you got appointed by a corrupt process. And by the way, you'll sell out on any political case for sure. You're also probably a freaking nut about criminals, and you let them go, boom, 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 boom. Just go kill people, go rape people. You're not going to affect your rights. I have no idea why they do it. I never understood Let 'Em Loose Bruce, and these people all come from Let 'Em Loose Bruce. And his son, Let 'Em Loose Bruce, who was a menace to Ed Koch, is now picking the judges in Manhattan because he's the head of the Democrat Party. I don't know why you vote for them. They like criminals, and they're responsible for a lot of the crime in America. Also, tomorrow night, we're going to give you an example. We're going to give you a couple of details about Argentina. Hopefully, some of the young people listen, because it's about as good an object lesson in why capitalism works and why Mondami on so many scores is a disaster. And the polls that say that young people in America like socialism, of course, it's a moral judgment as well, but it shows you how poorly educated they are and how dumb they are. That's dumb. Stupid. I don't have to elaborate. I mean, we will tomorrow and get you some of the details on that. But be really careful if you have children. Take a look at what they're being taught, because they come out thinking socialism is terrific. And socialism has never failed. It always fails. Worse than that, it almost always ends up in violence when it fails, because people are very resentful, very angry, very bitter, because they've been taken advantage of. I work like crazy. Everybody else doesn't. And the communists at the top take all the money. Gets people real angry. Well, let's ask everyone, as we always do, to get serious, pray, because that's the only place how we're going to get out of this, how we're going to get our country through this. Pray to God to help guide our country and guide our president to the greatness that we're capable of for you and for our families and our fellow citizens and the world. Pray for people of Israel, pray for the people of Iran, pray for the people of Ukraine, all the people that are under stress like this. We weren't able to cover Ukraine tonight like I wanted to. We will tomorrow night. And as a prayer, let's all say it together as a prayer. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,